Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Pete with mixbetternow.com, and today I want to show you how to clean up your vocals using Subtractive EQ. Let's check it out. Okay, so I have a session pulled up here in Pro Tools. I'm going to hit play in just 1 second, but before I do, I just want to make you aware of a few things. This track is not mixed. Essentially, what I have done thus far is drag the tracks in, did a little bit of a static mix, so everything is just balanced. If I go to the mix window, you will see that there are many plugins bypassed and not on at the moment. Okay, all I've done is a little bit of processing on the mix bus, a little bit of EQ and compression on the drums here, and then I have the lead vocal that I have processed a bit, a little EQ, compression, some effects, but then I have doubled that vocal, and that is what we are in fact going to be taking a look at how to use Subtractive EQ on. So without further ado, we'll go from the first verse here.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turn around. It's getting hard to remember now. The more I say, the less I know. You mutter as you walk away. That's what I thought you'd say. You can take my heart to the limit. It'll keep me coming back for more.
Okay, so the vocal that you're hearing right now, like I said, I have done some subtractive EQ to it. I've also done a little bit of serial compression. So it's just kind of something that we're going to go back and forth between and take a look at. But like I said, the track I want you guys to focus on here is what's called the vocal double. So I've gone ahead, I have absolutely zero processing on the track. Everything is just level balanced, like I said before, and we're going to take a listen to the vocal first in solo, then we'll bring it in the context of the mix. So this is exactly how the raw file sounds. Just want to point out that on the VMR, I don't have any sort of EQ or compression happening. I'm just using the trim tool, and I'm just using the VCC, which I use in every mix. So this is the raw vocal.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. It's getting hard to remember now.
So I want to show you guys a couple different ways that we can use Subtractive EQ on this track. Subtractive EQ is one of the most important fundamental concepts that you can grasp when mixing. Everything that I'm going to talk about in regards to vocals is applicable to any other instrument in the rest of the mix, okay? I'm just choosing vocals because if a track, a song has vocals, then that is always going to be the most important instrument. So apply these concepts to any other instrument. Now, I have a few different plugins pulled up here on the track. We're going to be taking a look at my favorite EQ, which is the FabFilter Pro Q2. Now, you absolutely do not have to have this or to understand this or to do any subtractive EQing. So what I'm going to do is also show you how to do this on the standard EQ7 that you get with Pro Tools. Your stock EQ. This can be done with any stock EQ and any DAW that you're working in. And then we can also take a look at how to do this on a channel strip, because channel strips are, I think, a great way to mix, to use when mixing, because we have everything that we need in them. As I say many times, we have our EQs, our compression, filters, gating, all that kind of good stuff. So the first concept that I want to talk about when using Subtractive EQ is the first thing that we need to do is we need to listen. Listening is so important when mixing. So again, I'm going to play it, and I want you guys to listen, and I want you to personally kind of pick out and see if there's anything that you hear that you don't like, all right?
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around.
Now we'll bring in the rest of the mix and we'll listen in the context of the mix.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turn around. It's getting hard to remember now.
Okay, so the reason that I want us to listen first before we do anything is because we need to know what we are looking for EQ-wise to remove, okay? So I'm hearing basically three main problem areas that I want to fix or remedy. I'm hearing muddiness, I'm hearing some boxiness in the vocal, and I'm hearing some sub-low buildup. I know that by removing these, we are going to gain clarity in the vocal. We're going to make the vocal sound brighter. It's going to give it a much better place to sit in the context of the mix. A lot of folks might get a track and just boost right away. I'm very hesitant when doing that. If I do that, the track has to be near on perfect, where it almost doesn't need any EQing at all, where you're just sweetening it. So this is a very typical type of vocal that you would get, where it's well recorded. It's a great vocalist. It doesn't sound bad by any means, but there's a few things that we can do with this vocal track to make it sound better. So the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of look for that muddy area, and I want to get rid of it. So one of the main reasons I like the Pro Q2 here is we have a visual graph of the EQ frequency spectrum.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to.
Now, I'm not insinuating to mix with your eyes. I just like having it there as a, it's just another way to help yourself. Some people are very good auditory learners. Some people are visual, tactile. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm actually not going to engage the high pass filter first. The first thing I want to do is I want to find the mud. So I'm going to bring a band up. Now the way that I do this is I like to create a band. I'll narrow the Q a little bit, boost, I will sweep, and then I will remove it. Now, one problem that I hear from a lot of folks is, well, how do I know what to cut when I'm boosting? Because everything sounds bad when I'm boosting. I don't know how to intelligently make a decision. And I definitely understand that. I've been there. I get that. But this is where listening is critical. You want to listen for what you don't like. When you hear what you don't like heightened or accentuated, you know you're in the ballpark of what you want to remove. So we're going to listen for some mud. I happen to know that mud can exist anywhere, 100 hertz, 200 hertz, 300 hertz. It just varies per vocalist. So let's go ahead and boost, sweep, and listen.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. It's getting hard to remember now. The more I say, the less I know.
Okay, start over.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile.
Okay, so I really like, I think a lot of this mud is around 193, and I'm going to solo this band by pressing the red headphone button here. Now, what we should hear when we press it is we're going to hear kind of like a muddy, kind of muffled sound like this. And what we want to do is essentially lift the blanket off of that, okay? So you can hear that. It's clearly muddy. There's clearly buildup there. So let's go ahead and make a cut.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer.
We'll keep it pretty wide. So I am doing a 4 dB cut at 193 hertz, and my Q is around 2.7. Not super wide, not super narrow. It's just a very natural cut. Now, what I like to do then is I want to bring in the high pass filter, and I'll show you why.
Questions fired out of the cannon.
So the idea is we're going to listen, and I want to remove as much of the bottom as I possibly can without making the vocal sound thin. But I also want to leave a little bit of the low end in to kind of keep the girth of the vocal intact.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around.
Now, this is the main reason that I like to high pass after I do my first cut, is because you can see we kind of have a pretty funky looking kind of cut line here. So it can be a little bit confusing if you have a plugin like this where you go ahead and boost something, cut it, while you have your filter band kind of pushed up. It might look a little confusing and it might throw you off. So I just find this way to be very helpful, okay? The next thing that we're gonna do, well, first let's just make sure that we have enough removed and we haven't taken too much off the bottom.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile.
Now I hear a little bit of the bottom end going away there, but I'm not overtly concerned with that, because if we listen in the context of the mix,
questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer.
I'm by no means missing any of the stuff that we have already removed. So, you know, that's a good thing. And let's go ahead and keep going. Now I want to go ahead and listen. Try and get rid of any of that boxiness, as I said, I hear in the vocal.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. It's getting hard to remember now.
So a great tool, like I said, is to solo up this band right here. So we're going to do that and listen. Okay, so right there, you kind of get that almost like he kind of sounds like he has a cold when we boost it and we accentuate it, you know? Questions fired. It's kind of silly to do, but if we listen when we have this boosted.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile.
He kind of sounds stuffed up, like he has a stuffy nose, so this is an area that I want to get rid of.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around.
As soon as I brought that down, I really heard it open up, as with the muddy area. Just to kind of check our work so far, I'm going to bypass this in and out.
You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a... You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a... You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance.
So I really like the way that it is shaping up. The only thing that I just kind of want to take a peek at is I want to see if there's anything going on in between these two bands, because often just from experience, I know that that whole area can kind of get a little bit congested. So I want to see how it would sound. Let's go back to the context of the mix.
You're hiding behind a smile.
Actually, let's jump over to the second verse. It's important to move around in different parts of the song because, for example, the vocalist is gonna change, you know, how high or low they sing. Like, listen to this part.
I know you know the difference between the colors and the sound, but I can't take it on faith. Not every heaven can wait.
Compared to here,
it's getting hard to remember now.
So what we need to do, our job, is to make sure that the EQ moves we do on the vocal are going to flatter the vocal, are going to sound good no matter how low or high the vocalist is singing, okay? So like I said, I like to move around while I'm doing this at different parts of the mix, different verses, choruses, if there's a bridge, pre-chorus, all that kind of stuff.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale.
Okay, let's go ahead and check out a chorus with the band in.
You can take my heart to the limit. It'll keep me coming back for more. But then you tell me your heart isn't in it. A different story than you saw before. I know you know the difference between the colors and the sound. not every heaven can wait.
So I'm hearing a little bit more of a combination of muddiness and boxiness here. I think it's pretty evident when we solo this up.
That's what I thought you'd say. You can take my heart to the limit. It'll keep me coming back for more. But then you...
Right, so we're going to pull that out.
Oh, before I know you know the difference between the colors and the sound.
And I'm going to keep this cue a little bit narrower because I don't feel like we need to necessarily remove all of that stuff. So we're going to have 3 cuts going here. We're going to have another cut with our filter. And let's go ahead and do a before and after right now.
Questions fired out of the cannon. Questions fired out of the cannon.
Let's bring the vocal up a little bit.
You're hiding behind a smile. You're hiding behind a smile. You're hiding behind a smile. You're hiding behind a smile.
I mean, 4 subtractive moves that we've done right now to the vocal, and I feel like the vocal has already blossomed very nicely. It's sitting in a nice place, and proof of this will be, when we bring the rest of the band in, the vocal should be able to stand on its own. We haven't compressed it all. We haven't added any effects in. Let's take a listen.
You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turn around.
Okay, let's take it out.
You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer.
So before we did any EQing, it's a little bit difficult to hear Matt singing. I hear a lot of muddy buildup, boxiness, low end, and after.
You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turn around.
So I'm really happy with the way that that's sounding, okay? Now we can, of course, go ahead and do some other things here if we want to. Like if we want to add a little bit of presence, we could bring in a nice wide band and do a very gentle boost. Let's go ahead and solo.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale. I've burned too many holes in.
So I often like to do a little presence boost, and then I'll bring in a little bit of a high shelf somewhere.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale. I've burned too many holes.
But for the purpose of this video, I don't really want to talk about boosting. You can boost at any point that you'd like. If you want to, boost before the compressor, I sometimes like to boost after the compressor. That is absolutely fine. So that's kind of how I did the subtractive EQ here on my EQ of choice. Now I want to basically go ahead and do the same thing with the stock EQ that comes with Pro Tools. And I want to move a little bit quicker here instead of just stopping to explain everything. I'm just going to kind of go through it. I'll pull in the bands, I'll search for what I don't like, and I'm going to remove them. Just bear in mind, keep in mind all of the things that we discussed as we did this previously. I'll go ahead and start with the first verse again. And we'll start with our low frequencies here, okay? I'm going to change the shelf to a bell just by clicking on this button right here. Make sure that everything is in. And let's go ahead and look for some of these frequencies that we don't want.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. It's getting hard to remember now.
Okay, so there's some low buildup, some muddy buildup that I want to get rid of.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around.
Okay, so that's my first cut. Now I'm going to bring in the high pass filter. I'm going to make sure that the dB per octave on the slope is set to 12 decibels, and we're going to turn it on.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. It's getting hard to remember now.
Now, you might feel like we're losing a little bit of the bottom end, but the most important thing, again, is the context of the mix. So just to double check that, we bring the band back in.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer.
and I am not left wanting any more low end on the vocal, okay? So back to solo. We've done our first cut here, so now let's take the second band and let's look for some of that boxiness.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. It's getting hard to remember now. Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. It's getting hard to remember now.
Okay, so I just want to go and check this this other area. Whoops, that we cut last time on the other EQ.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. It's getting hard to remember now.
Now this isn't as wide of a cut, so we're doing a little bit of a narrower cut in the middle here.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to.
I'm going to raise the output a little bit just because we're removing so much of this. I want to make sure we're getting our volume.
Questions fired out of the cannon. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance.
Yeah, so that sounds really good. And now we're using the stock EQ in Pro Tools. You could do the same thing in any DAW. I'm just going to loop this. We'll bypass it on and off. Hear what it sounds like before and after.
You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer before my words turned around. You're hiding behind a smile. I haven't got a chance to answer.
Okay, so that sounds really good. I really dig that. Going back to the Pro Q2. We can check our work here. We'll go ahead and bypass in and out.
You're hiding behind a smile. You're hiding behind a smile. You're hiding behind a smile.
We'll go to another part.
My heart is low, my head is high. My heart is low, my head is high.
You know, and that is really the concept of using subtractive EQ on your vocals. We want to identify the frequencies that we don't like by listening. We want to use both, of course, in the context of the mix, but you can definitely pop it into solo. I have no problem with that. I think it's impossible to hear some things unless if it's not in solo. But you always want to just double check your work and make sure that it sounds right in the context of the mix. Okay, so I really hope you guys got something from this. I hope you learned how to be a little bit more comfortable with doing EQ cuts or using some subtractive EQ, in this case on vocals, but the principles are exactly the same. You can use this on any other instrument in your mix. All right, so that's it for me. My name is Pete with mixbetternow.com. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.